Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Friday, everyone. How y'all feeling tonight?
I'm feeling
Unbelievable.
great.
All right, all right. I definitely want to do some new introductions. Not new, but little spin on the old. So, good evening for everyone that's tuning in. My name is Bakar Bey. I'll be your MC, Mastermind Coach. And this here is the Seer Mastermind Podcast with my co-founders and co-hosts, Mr. Maurice Bey.
That's me. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. And my sister, also your financial conductor, Miss Majida Bey. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Doing well. How's everybody doing?
Outstanding, outstanding. So before we dive into this conversation, we got a fun conversation tonight. Also, some great content that we'll bring to you. But go ahead and like, share, post to your page, share it with a friend. Right? If you want to take a minute, start a watch party. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Boom. Let some other people know what's going on with this conversation tonight. All right.
Okay.
Promise you it'll be worth your time. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to take a couple seconds while people are filtering in. Boom, boom. All right. So, I don't want to delay anybody any further. Tonight, as I mentioned, this is the Seer Mastermind Podcast. Myself, Maurice, Majida, brought together this group about a year ago, right? Going on a year, and as a means to be support for creative entrepreneurs like ourselves, but for others out there. SEER stands for support, encouragement, accountability, and recognition. So we've been providing support and accountability for each other and others all throughout the year. And so tonight, what we wanted to do is have a conversation on, we call it the Quarantine Chronicles. I like the title. We're going to do a year-end review, or maybe for some, it's a year-end review, right? So we want to talk a little bit about what that is, or what that difference is for those who've been getting through COVID-19 in 2020. So first question is, let me ask you, Maurice and Majida, is this a year-end for you, a reset, or a year in, you building and growing momentum going into 2021?
Go for that, Margita. Go ahead. I don't know
right,
how to answer that.
For me, it's definitely going to be a year in review. This year has been phenomenal. I don't know how else to describe it. I think I've probably grown more this year than I probably have in the last decade. I've exposed myself to more information. I actually right now I have on my internet browser tab like the various programs that I purchased this year as a means to invest in myself. One was to learn, to be tech savvy. Another one was with Keisha Williams, Profit Producers, so learning how to market myself online. The Execution Pipeline with Anthony Flynn. I joined Breathe University with Eric Thomas and Associates. I also got the Rebuild Conference, so I started watching the replays. So like just a lot of personal development in myself. And, I was just determined to come out of whatever this thing was this year better than I went in, so I kind of felt like the caterpillar, right? I had to go into a cocoon, work through some things so that I could come out the butterfly. I like that little meme that they show where the butterfly is talking to the caterpillar, and the caterpillar is telling the butterfly, "You've changed," and the butterfly looks back. He's like, "We're supposed to," right? So I like that transformation, that metamorphosis. Oh, she likes butterflies too.
All right, butterflies. Good. How's it doing? My niece, she is the little boss in training. All right, I told y'all 90 minutes. All right, 90 minutes. But you know what? We can't look. They've been a part of it all year for us. But I appreciate that, Majida. So I want to just kind of take a step back, right? You said some great stuff just a minute ago. But where were you a year ago? Where were you a year ago? And when you were crawling into the cocoon, or before going in the cocoon, as you mentioned.
I was crawling around on the ground, almost literally. I remember sharing with you guys that.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. She said she love you.
I love you too. I love you too. It's real family here.
But yeah, I think I remember sharing with you all that I was in a space where like I didn't want to get out of the bed because I felt like that meant the clock started, and it felt like from the time I got up to the time I went to bed, like I was just always on the go. And I said that this year was phenomenal in the sense that it allowed me to slow down, at least temporarily, before everybody figured out how to do things virtually. Everything had to like kind of come to a halt to some degree. And it gave me just enough time to like pause, reset, rethink, and, really figure out how I wanted to show up and who I wanted to become moving forward. But yeah, a year ago, I was just kind of in this space where I was just tired of the hustle and bustle and the grind, if you will. I just felt like I was always on the go, and I just couldn't slow down long enough to like just think. And so, yeah, that's where I was a year ago. Then we started this, and that, gave me some inspiration, if you will, some encouragement to like not focus on where I was, but to focus on where I wanted to be. And that shift, propelled us into 2020, to where we had put some things in place prior to the pandemic. We had already started this, and we just, kept ourselves accountable to it, to just keep showing up, keep meeting consistently. And that has, I think, been transformational for myself, and I'm sure, for you all as well, to some extent.
Awesome. And I mean, while she's talking, I want for those that are listening, that are watching, whether it's at the end of 2020 or 2080, who knows how long these will be out there. Wanted just to take a moment and think about where you are, where you've been. You may have had a rough year, where you're going, but just take a moment to think about where you are, right? Where you are right now at the end of 2020. Are things trending up? Things trending down? Are you stuck at a standstill, right? Take a moment just to think about your state and where you are. I'm gonna go to Maurice now. Ask the question in a different way. So, here at the end of 2020, right? Think about where you were at the end of 2019 before we started SEER. And do you feel like 2020 is a year that you want to just reset and wipe away? Or is it something that you can use as a building block for the years to come?
No, it's absolutely something that I can use as a building block for the years to come. But on the same note, it is a new year. It is a new year, and it is a good time. It is a good time to reset. If I don't think there's anything wrong if I feel like I need to reset. I think even from that aspect, you could say it's a building block year, even if it's just a year that brought you to the point of realizing that what you're doing needs to be thrown in the trash can. And that's still a year that you can build on right there. You know what I mean? So definitely for me, it's a year that I can use to propel me forward with some of the momentum that I got going in this year. But on the same note, man, how do they say? Yesterday is a canceled check and tomorrow's a promissory note. So it's still over with, and 2021 is about to come in, whether I'm ready for it or not. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about it. It's a bit of both. It's definitely a bit of both. Something I can springboard off of and use going forward, and something that it's like, whatever happened, it's over with. You know what I mean?
Ah, that's good stuff. So you've got the reset and the building block all bundled in one nice package, right?
That's the way that I see it. Yeah.
That's what I love about your insights and the different ways that you look at things. Right, you're
Yeah.
able to spin that globe around and see it from so many different perspectives. So one of the things that I realized this year, we started off doing this for us, right? And since we've been growing a community through SEER, right? And we've met some dynamic people. We've talked and had some great conversations with people on the podcast. Maurice, just in the time that we've been doing this in the last year, what would you say is one of the most impactful experiences, conversations, or pieces of advice that you received over the last year?
The biggest right now, what's popping in my mind is not necessarily one individual piece of advice that any person, guest, or panelist spoke about. That's not really the biggest thing that I got. The biggest thing that I got, and this may not be answering your question. I hope it is.
Maybe you go with lesson learned.
Well, let me just say what I'm thinking. Let me just say what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Sounds good.
I mean, clarity. Clarity is the biggest thing I think that this podcast, this mastermind, the biggest thing that all of the conversations that we've had here over the course of the past year, I think that's the biggest thing that it's done for me, is just helping me personally to get clear on what I do, what I want to do, and where I want to go. And I think that is just because talking to other people, seeing other people's situation can in fact give you more perspective over your own situation. It really can. I know sometimes with me, just hearing other people talk about where they are and how they dealt with certain situations obviously gives me more perspective over how I can deal with my own situation. So I think the main thing that I've gotten from all of the information that has been shared here is probably just processing it, right? How the information has gotten processed and how the individual is processing their journey. You know what I mean? So I think, and also, man, three things. I want to say something else real quick because I actually jotted down something tonight. The three things that I was thinking about as far as 2020, and everything that I say this evening is probably going to be tied to these three things right here. Trying to be fair in your judgment of yourself. Okay, that's one thing. Done is better than perfect. That's the second thing. And also, man, there are you want to get in the zone, but there are pros and cons to getting in the zone. Now, I wanted to throw it out there real quick because everything that I say tonight is probably gonna tie into one of those things. So, just being around the people talking about it has helped to get me in the zone, which brings about the clarity. You know what I mean? So I'll stop right there with that. But that's pretty much what, overall, when you talk about what I've gotten from the conversations, I would say is clarity, and that's how I've gotten it, just by hearing other people work through their situations. You get ideas and you get more perspective over your own situation.
Okay, awesome, man. I appreciate that. Can you repeat those one more time for the audience, for the viewing public?
Well, everything that I'm gonna say tonight, I'm probably gonna tie to one of these ideas, but trying to be fair in your judgment of yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Done is better than perfect, and but you want to get in a zone in life, just like a basketball player. But there are pros and cons to getting in the zone. So, like I said, everything I'm going to say tonight, I'm going to probably tie back to one of those three things right there.
All right.
And Majida already kind of started speaking about getting in the zone. One of the side notes that I got jotted beside getting in the zone is going into the cocoon, immersion. And she already started speaking about going into the cocoon. So I definitely see benefit in that.
All right. Just jotting down a couple of notes. All right, Majida, what about you? I know
I was
that you
just about
just.
to give you some chance to type, and I was going to ask her that same question.
What would you say is the big lessons learned, or what conversations? I know you've been having a ton of conversations this past year. Seeing you all over social media, Facebook.
And unmute the mic. Um, I would have to say consistency. I'm proud of what we've consistently done together over the past year between this every 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
and our mastermind group uh, every 2 weeks. Uh, because it's to me it's building a muscle, right? Like that, and that accountability that we talked about is huge. And so that in and of itself is a building block for us, for who we become moving forward, right? If we can be accountable to each other twice a well 4 times a month essentially, when we get together on these between this and the mastermind group, we can be accountable in other areas of our lives, with our children or with our significant other or with our families, with our schedules, So um, it's definitely increased my accountability because, like, there's a couple other things that I do in their schedule, and I always show up, right? Like, if I don't do anything else, I always show up, and that's really what was huge for me this year is building that muscle of being accountable, holding myself accountable to certain things, and having a regular routine or schedule in terms of my personal development as well, right? Because I see this as part of that. So I know initially when we talked about this mastermind, we were like, "Oh, we're gonna do it audio," because I was like, "I'm not trying to get on camera." So we've all had to grow in a lot of ways this year. At least I know I have. Getting more comfortable in front of the camera, being okay with just showing people who I am. And I went from being the person who wanted to be private and kind of stay behind the scenes to understanding that what gifts I've been given and what I have to share, um, I can't do in my living room, without uh, or we have tools or resources available to us now that can position you to be able to share your gift. Um, and I didn't just get out of my own way. So putting certain measures in place to hold myself accountable, I think has been key for me this year. That was my biggest takeaway. I think one of the most impactful conversations we had this year, for me, was with Maya. Like, that's my home girl, that's my girl,
Yeah,
And I've
it's a great
gleaned so much
conversation.
from her. I've had an opportunity to work alongside her and really, um, see her vision. Right, she has a huge vision. So that's going to be like my focus in 2021 is really like being the architect of my future, right? Like really, really clarifying the vision that I want for my life. Um, so yeah,
Oh,
hope
that's
that
good
answers your
stuff.
question. Yeah.
No, that's good stuff. Look, I enjoy just sitting and having a chance to meet with you guys. I know when we started, we were meeting face to face and in the kitchen, um, and we get together and for me that accountability, like showing up and being in the room with you all, knowing that all right, all of us are going through things in a certain way, and we've got different people around us that may be helping or maybe taking our focus away from what the things that we wanted to do. And so now I really enjoyed beginning the year with you guys. Really, I don't know, just having it close to home, right? We're all related, and my Gita, she's blood relative. She's my sister, a year older, and Maurice married to our sister. So our brother-in-law, and rarely do you see families really. I think rarely have I seen families get together like this, visibly, right, and really start to work. Like, what is our plan for us? We're the generation that's taking over, sort of our affairs for the family, right? We're the generation that the families are looking to now, right? Grandparents, parents, and our children. And so, for me, it's definitely a year in, because 2020 was a complete reset for me. You know, my word beginning of the year. Went to the convention at the beginning of the year. You know, we were working together, Majida, and the word that I left with there was free. Right? Like, am I really free? And I mean, every day this year, I feel like I've asked myself that question. Am I free? Am I free? Am I living a free life, right? Am I free in my thinking? Am I free in my actions? Am I free in how and where I come and go? Like, am I the person who's determining my destiny, or am I leaving it in somebody else's hand, right? And so I recognized, and I really had an opportunity at the beginning of this year to not only touch a piece of what one of my goals were, which was to be bi-coastal, to relocate across the country, which, you know, I definitely expect and see happening in the next year. But I had a chance to go out and visit and actually spend some additional time there, you know, taking a during work sabbatical, which was only afforded to me because of the quarantine, because of the virtual learning. Once I began teaching this year, but had a lot of time in the months leading up to the new school year to really figure out what it was that I wanted to be doing at 33 at the time, going on 34 years old. Right? It's like, what is the plan for my life from here forward? What is the plan? And this year has been, it started off, man, I'm telling you, rocky. I mean, it started off beautiful, and then it quickly like just hit a gully, and not in a negative way, but just in a way that I was just like, all right, if I set this as the new rock bottom, right? And you could do that with anything. Things can be going great and be like, you know what? This is my new floor. You know what I'm saying? You raise the floor to the level that you're at instead of continuing to dig. I realized then that, all right, if I'm gonna reset from here, I'm gonna climb out of here free in the things that I do, right? And so this year's really been like an experience. And what is it like to live free, right? To come and go. I'm probably taking my third trip this year for probably the first time ever. You know, taking 3 trips across the country, and I said, man, I could kind of get used to this, right? I like building that muscle, traveling and seeing friends, and I stay connected to a lot of people who travel all the time, and I'm always asking my question: how do you do it? How have you been doing it? You know, as I've been focusing on like kind of building foundational blocks for myself. But it's like, man, I see people out here living, and I'm like, I'm still building foundations. I'm building foundation, and it's like, what is the foundation for, right? When am I actually gonna start to erect something that's gonna reflect me? And I think that's what's always been most important: is, am I doing something that reflects me? Side note, speaking of reflections, Facebook reminded me today that this day 11 years ago, I graduated undergrad from Virginia Tech, and this night white sweater is a reminder that it came down about 2 feet of snow that day. And for those of my family that came up to the mountain to spend that time with me, I appreciate it, because I know I took some time just to finish. But I was thinking about that. I was reflecting on that today, and how, like, where I was 10, 11 years ago, right? And the trajectory that I saw my life on, and where I am today. And I'm recognizing, man, I had certain ideas that I wanted to work at, right? Like, I published a book right after that year, or earlier that year. And I had plans to like revisit that book 10 years later, right? Just to show like the growth in my, and I started rewriting that over the last couple of years. And that's a project that's still, unfinished, but it's really getting close. It's getting closer. But I thought about that, and I'm like, all right, how many things have I started, right, that have gone unfinished? And 2020 was a year to kind of think about, we were on this trajectory in life, right? And it came to a new pivot point. So how many things have we started, right, and just had to come to an end? And what are some of the things that you want to carry forward with you moving on? That was some of the things that I was thinking about. I don't know how to formulate that into a question, but those are some of the things I was reflecting on, and I'm wondering, like, with you, with your family, or with your business, what are some of the things that you're happy came to an end this year? Yeah, what are some
Happy
things
came
that you're
to an
happy
end.
or grateful for that they kind of came to an end? For example, like for me, it was the hustle and bustle. Like I was getting up at like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock every morning to prepare myself, and I was leaving, going into the office, and I was getting home 10, 11 o'clock at night, right? But I wasn't seeing, a ROI. I wasn't seeing a return on investment. Not in myself, not in my finances, not in my relationships. I wasn't seeing it, right? So for me, like this year, I was happy to detox and get rid of everything that was toxic in my life. And it wasn't like major people, but really how I was living, right? The direction and that I guess I was allowing myself to follow, right? I was following voices that weren't necessarily coming from within. So when I shifted to really, really listening and following those voices, like diligently and dutifully, be like, nope, my inner voice says this is not your path to freedom, right? I'm coming out this year a lot happier than I've been, in the last couple of years. And I've been happy, but like this happiness feels a little different. It's like, oh, I made this. Like I had a hand in it. It was
Joy.
It's joy. Like it's a really joyful experience. But what are some of the things that you're happy kind of came to an end, and like with that, happy to carry forward?
I can't. I'm having a hard time identifying with what you're saying. I get where you are and the experience that you've had, right? Where because of 2020, you've had to make such a change where certain things have been forced right out of your life or whatever. But I'm a truck driver, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. My bread and butter is a truck driver, and
Talk about
so
it.
as a truck driver, I'm gonna be honest with you. There have been a few things that have affected me as far as the pandemic, but being directly impacted by the pandemic, I'm one of those people that haven't been impacted much. The act of quarantining and being away from people, um, I would like to be around people more than I am right now. But I mean, I was already isolated from people anyway. I was already not really contacting and mingling and dealing with people anyway. Me and my cousin was just talking yesterday about how, man, I ain't came back since I moved away to Carolina. Who was like, some people move away, family members to do stuff, and they don't never really come back. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm back, but I never really came back. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
in 2021 or 2020 comes and says, okay, well, it's a pandemic now, and you can't see your family as much as you would like to. I mean, I wasn't really seeing my family as much as I probably needed to anyway. You know what I mean? So things like that didn't really, there wasn't a whole lot of things that the pandemic, it's like, all right, well, you've been doing it this way, so you can't do it that way anymore. Maybe a few things, but not really a whole lot of things that I've experienced like that. So my wife has gone through some changes, but I mean, we haven't been impacted that much, in my opinion. By the impact, by the quarantine and the pandemic. If the main thing, and I'll be quiet after this, as far as the quarantine and the pandemic, I guess you could say, it's been for me. It feels more like um, having to be more determined about what I want in my life, right?
mm,
It's like things can feel like they're getting so haywire, or things can feel like they are so much out of your control that sometimes there isn't even any use in trying to control it, because it's like things is happening anyway. But I think for me, 2020 was one of those years where you realize the power of your focus. You realize that even in tumultuous times, even in times where things appear to be going crazy, you do still have the ability to somewhat direct where you're going to, and I think that kind of goes back to getting in that cocoon. I think that kind of goes back to getting in that cocoon, man. When you get in that cocoon, when it's like you can't. It's like the racehorse. There are a lot of distractions going on, which means you got to be super deliberate about where your focus goes. You know what I'm
I like
saying?
that word.
And so because of that, you don't see a lot of the stuff that is going on. And I did a lot of that this past year, just not seeing a lot of the stuff that is going on. Even though you could turn it on in the news, you hear it from family members. You're impacted through those ways. But man, when you just get in that zone, it's difficult because things are going on around you, and you feel like you're missing things. But to me, the after effect of getting in that zone puts you in the position where you can look back and actually see some change in your situation as a result of staying focused and getting in that cocoon and just kind of zoning out. You know what I mean? So um that's kind of more or less what it feels like to me with 2020. Not so much it just didn't don't feel that things have been forced out, and I gotta let them go. It just kind of, it's just like, yo, things are happening, and so because so many things are happening, you just need to be a little bit more deliberate about where you want to go and what you want to focus on. And I mean, it seems to me that even in these times, I've said it before, our power to thought, to think, and to focus still works. As a matter of fact, your power to think and to focus doesn't work unless it works in tumultuous times. You know what I mean? Shoot, like, I don't need my power to think and to focus to really work when things are beautiful. I need it to work when things are not going good. So, for me, that one is it just getting in that zone, man. Immersion is the word that I'm thinking about. Immersion. That's how you pick up stuff. That's how you learn stuff, and that's how change comes about. Like, dabbling doesn't help. So going into that
Mm-hmm.
cocoon and immersing yourself in it, and a lot of, I guess this kind of goes back to one more thing. I gotta let me slow down because I'm getting excited. I'm
Good, good.
sorry
Get
about
out.
that.
Get out.
But done being better than perfect. Done being better than perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can overthink this whole thing too much and just get yourself, where, well, this got to be right and that got to be right, and how do I, it's like, yo, just get in the zone, and that muscle memory type of thing. That muscle memory, when you're in that zone and it's in your muscles, then you can just do it. You can just do it. And like I said, you give yourself an opportunity to focus in one area long enough to get something accomplished, so you could actually feel the growth. I know I was all over the place with that, man, but that's just kind of what I was thinking and what I was feeling. I apologize.
Listen, the conversation will come to a focal point. I promise you. We'll bring it all together. I started off all over the place with my stories, but no, I appreciate that, Maurice. Like, done being better than perfect, and being able to be in the zone, and recognize that, man, there are people who have different experiences in 2021. That's why we're having the conversation the way we are. Everybody's had a little bit of a different experience. For me, it wasn't necessarily things being forced on me, but well, other than the quarantine, but it was really inviting. It was opportunity. It was the kind of thing that I was really looking forward to, and it gave me a reason, or maybe even an excuse, to cut out some of the other things that weren't adding value. Right? It created an opportunity to be like, all right, now that I don't have to leave the house, because most of my work was going out and networking. Right? Most of my work was being out and about and around people and doing work for people. But I wasn't doing the same amount. I wasn't investing the same amount in myself. And there's a whole lot of things, like what Majida talked about, what she was capable of investing in herself in this year. I was able to shift my focus, right, to investing in myself. So, for those that are listening, nothing, and I'm leaving this year knowing nothing is worth more than exposing and investing, exposing yourself to new things that'll help you grow, and investing in yourself until you get the results that you want. Right? For me, I feel like I'm leaving here with my foot in the door in the space that I really want to be in for the next 20, 30 years. Right? And 10, 11 years ago, when I graduated college, I didn't feel that confident about where I was going. I was just happy to be done with that chapter. How's it going, nephew? But Majida, talk a little bit about your immersions this year. You know what I mean? What are some of the relationships you built, some of the experiences that you've had different than previous years? Or even you can even go back to the question on what are some of the things you're happy to leave behind and happy that you picked up and carried forward?
So associations was
That was our first podcast.
probably the biggest. Yeah, I definitely increased my associations this year. Been able to surround myself more frequently with like-minded individuals, from my involvement with woman-owned minority businesses, founded by Maya Harris. So in that group, we meet every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, to hold each other accountable, share our goals, things like that. So those associations have been impactful. In addition to that, the Rebuild conference that Eric Thomas sponsors, I was able to create some new associations through that. And then, like I said, join Breathe University, where daily now, right, I have accountability. So we went from SEER Mastermind Group, bi-weekly accountability, along with my accountability in womb, to now I'm part of Breathe University, where daily they have accountability calls. So accountability, like I said, was kind of the key thing for me this year. And something that a mentor of mine says all the time is, like, we often will do things more for other people than we will for ourselves. And even though the accountability is for me, I show up for other people. That makes sense, right? So like, it's on my schedule, it's on my calendar. Every other Sunday at 4, I got to meet with my womb circle. Every other Sunday at 12:30, I got to meet with my SEER Mastermind group. Every other Friday at 9 now, formerly 10:30, I got to meet with my SEER pod. So like, I just show up, and that for me, like I said, has built the muscle. So I'm happy to take that accountability with me into 2021. And leaving behind, I think this year, in focus on who I want to become, I've diminished, I'm not going to say eliminated, I've diminished some of the things that have, or that weren't adding value to my life. I can be honest and say that, like, I invited distractions before, right? Like, I welcomed them. It was just like I needed something to break the routine. And now what breaks the routine is accountability, right?
Ooh.
So
Man,
that, you know, like, well, just to, you know, like, kind of, you know, back to your point about like the hustle and bustle of getting up, going to work, taking the children here or there, right? Like that routine, like I needed, or I wanted something to break that routine. So I would invite different distractions or different things that weren't necessarily adding value to my life. It just helped to break the routine. And so accountability became the new distraction or the new thing that gave me a break from the routine. Because I guess if you go back to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We need certainty and we need variety, right? I didn't have enough variety in my life. So I invited variety, but the type of variety that didn't add value. So now adding value, or adding variety through value added conferences, trainings, right? I took Make Real Estate Real course, offered through Jamal King. You know, I Breathe University, right? So like, there was all of these things that were able to add value to my life through the course of this year that helped to break up the routine, but they almost became like a routine in and of itself.
Yeah.
Right? This whole other trajectory, right? Like I'm living this one life during the day, and on the weekends and evenings and in between times, I have like this whole growth plan. So it's like, this is my work plan and my growth plan. And the growth plan, you know, kept things interesting throughout the course of the year. Like I took a course with Wendy J, where I learned how to build a website, right? Like I never thought or imagined myself investing in a program to learn how to build a website. And now I think what this year, and I shared this actually with one of the coaches that I work with this year, was this year showed me that our capacity is greater than what we actually think it is, right? Um, Something that we learned growing up. We have unlimited capacities for progress. And I feel like I was able to experience that this year. Like, there's a lot more in you than you allow, right? Or there's a lot more in you than you permit, if you will, And so embracing that, like, there's more for me to give. There's more that I can offer. I don't have to limit myself by the box that somebody else put me in. Even working from home, like, I've embraced that to the point where, like, I don't necessarily have to go back to the office, right?
I can't go back. I don't know if I can go back.
But I mean, I just learned that about myself. Like, I'm much more productive away from other people. It's just by nature, or this is the way that I'm wired. So I get around other people, and like, I tend to want to support or be available and respond, and then I don't get what I need to get done. So spending this time by myself, I'm like, oh, this is the environment like I need to be in for me to maximize my potential. Like, I got to work alone more than I have to work with others, and that's okay. Like, that's the way that I was designed. And I think knowing that about myself, moving forward, I'm not going to force myself into situations or feel pressured to be in environments that are not going to get the best out of me. If that makes sense.
I got it. I'm picking up a huge piece of, I don't know, something I'm gonna carry forward from what you said. It sounds like you transformed making yourself accessible with people to being accountable with people. So now your accessibility time becomes accountability, right? So the people that you're showing up for, you realize, like, they're people that are looking for you. They're people who are dependent on you. They're people who are wondering, like, if you don't show up, somebody's going to come looking for you, right? If I didn't show up on this podcast, if I didn't show up in our masterminds, right, without some sort of message, I know that one of you being close as well. And I think that was a huge factor, being like family, being close. Like, one of you is going to come looking for me, right? And there were definitely, I think, moments right before, I think we were probably about 6 weeks in to the podcast, and there was just one night I was not feeling it. I was just like, you know what, man, y'all go on and do it without me. But I knew, like, it takes 21 days to build a habit, 90 days to create a lifestyle. And we were like right on the threshold of that 90 days. And I was like, man, I got to push through it, man. I got to show up. I got to show up. I got to show up. And since then, I feel like for me, my experience with Share has continued to grow as well. So that's just something that I'm taking away from what you said, is transforming your accessibility time to accountability time. And for those that are listening, man, I hope you grab that nugget, grab that lesson, and think about, are you making yourself too accessible to people and not able to be productive? And where can you go? How can you go about turning that accessibility into accountability time, right? Which is something I feel like we've done and are doing fairly well with Seer. For those that are showing up regularly and contributing, like, that accountability is making a difference.
Yeah. And I think it goes both ways. Like, it's not just me being accountable to them, but like understanding that I can hold other people accountable. I can delegate certain things. Like, I don't have to do everything. And when you're accessible and people are accustomed to you doing everything, or right, then they come to you for the answer. When you're not as accessible, they still may reach out, but part of it they can figure out on their own. So I think it's also allowed the space for people around me to grow because I'm not as available.
Wow. Wow. That's strong. We still got done is better than perfect there on the screen. So, Maurice, I want to. What's on my mind right now? What's on your mind right now? What are you thinking about? What are you feeling at the moment?
I'm just thinking, if 2021, you talked about 2021 being a year of a year end review or a year in review. And if you're an individual that doesn't feel so optimistic about your 2020, or doesn't feel so good about your 2020, or doesn't feel so good about the results that you feel like you got in 2020, or if you're an individual that feels extremely good about the results that you feel you got in 2020, I'm just thinking be fair in your judgment of yourself, because your opinion of yourself, in a lot of cases, can be the difference maker, right?
Mm.
And the thing is, how you feel about where you think you are in life has very little to do with where you actually are in life. So I think
Okay.
sometimes, man, so I think sometimes we can, you can think that you are so off track. You can think that you are so not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You can think that way about your life. And it's but the reality is it's possible that that's not true. And I've said this before, and that's to me because we all really we're really not fair in our judgment of ourselves. We really judge ourselves sometimes from too close of a perspective, when you're really not measuring all the impact that you are having on other people when you know what I
Mm.
mean. And so for the individual that isn't feeling very good about their accomplishments, or what the lack of however you're feeling about it, it's just I'm just thinking, be fair in your judgment of yourself. And I just want you to think about that. How you feel about where you think you are is not necessarily, that's not it. That has very little to do with where you are. You can be where you need to be and think that you're not, and ruin the whole thing. I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I talked before about the I think I've said something before on this show about that couple that I saw in Food Line that day in the grocery store, and they was walking through the grocery store rubbing on each other. And they were in their own world, just minding their own world. The wife was stroking the husband's hand, and the husband was stroking the wife's back. And for some reason, just the energy that they gave off just hit me immensely. Like, it was one of those things that it gave me goosebumps at the time.
Wow.
And I walked up to the people and I was like, "Yo, you make the world a better place just by doing what you're doing right now." You know
I
what I'm
think that was
saying?
episode 4. No.
May have been, man. And I just wanna repoint that out, that a lot of the times, man, you're really not taking into account all of that when you're judging yourself. And again, that's a double-sided sword, man. You can think and believe that you way ahead of where you need to be, but that don't really mean that that you are. You know what I'm saying? So, um, it's like, be fair in your judgment of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't be too harsh on yourself. If you didn't have a great year, if you didn't do the things that you feel like you wanted to do this year, or you felt like you dropped the ball, all of that can be a building block of an experience. You know what I'm saying? And it's all good if you get something from it. It's all good if you get something from it. So I was thinking about that as Majida was talking, and as we've been carrying on this conversation, man. Just don't knock it. That's the worst thing you can do, is be down on yourself. This is a self-esteem thing. Self-esteem got a whole lot to do with this. How you feel about you matters. It absolutely does, man. It absolutely does. So, just be fair in how you're judging yourself. Well, I did this wrong. I did that wrong. I didn't get this right. I didn't get that right. But are you taking into account all the things that you maybe did get right? Or the other side of it, well, man, I've been doing this year, I did this year, I did da da da. Are you taking into account all of the things that you didn't get right? You know what I'm saying? This year, to kind of keep the whole thing, balanced, man. So it ain't necessarily where you think you are. You can think you can think you somewhere and not be there. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good and a bad thing.
No, man, I appreciate that, and I'm certain that there's some new entrepreneurs, some solopreneurs, some uh, man, some experienced individuals and entrepreneurs who definitely could take that message and build upon it, right? One of the things that I appreciate and I want to recognize you for is bringing the element of celebrating our wins and loss. I mean, and struggles. You know,
Yeah.
every time we get together for our masterminds, right? That's something that it's something that I begin to really apply in my coaching as well. Is, you know, think about all of the things that you've done well. You know, what would have and it's in our nature to be somewhat judgmental of ourselves, to be unfair, to look at everything that's not going well, right? Because oftentimes it hits us more emotionally, right? That we'll complain and cry about the smallest thing and barely celebrate, you know, the big accomplishments or achievements, as if it's something that, you know, is supposed to happen or expected. But no, it took work, it took effort, it took, you know, dedication, discipline, and you know, being deliberate. I like that word that you used earlier. That's actually one of my words, being deliberate. So Maurice, definitely, like I said, want to recognize you for bringing that element of celebrating your wins. And for those that are listening, like, it is are you celebrating your wins? Are you being fair with yourself? You know, are you counting? Okay, what did I do well today, and what did I do not so well today? Right? Are you balancing it? And ask yourself that question. And I want to piggyback off that. Are you being sincere in that as well? Right? Are you being honest and telling yourself the truth about what you're doing well and what you're not doing well? Right? Because I think I've heard a lot this year, people saying, man, I'm just being brutally honest, brutally honest, right? And when I think about being brutal, like, it's not something that strikes me as real helpful, right? And I know that my goal is to be, you know, helpful, practical, and useful here. All right, it's not the last time you're gonna hear that, but to be helpful, practical, and useful with all the information and stories and experiences that we share with you from a mastermind experience and from an entrepreneurial experience. So, Majida, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with this, but I want you to, can you touch a little bit on, well, actually, I'll say it this way. I want to recognize you for always, at least in my eyes, being very sincere about what's going on in your life. Positive, negative, it's very, 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 how do I call it? You have I think just a very good center, right? You don't get too high, too low. Mm-hmm. You know, I got expressions from you like burned in my memory, because like when Majida is up, it's just like, oh my gosh. And when she's down, it's like, oh man, like what's happening in the world, you know? But you're always able to stay very even keeled. I think that's what I was looking on. But I think that also comes from you being just not brutally honest with yourself, but sincere and honest with yourself. So I don't know if you can touch a little bit on how sincerity has been a part of, you know, your journey, or even have you influenced others and been able to kind of grow with the community and accountability that you have.
All right, y'all can get, if I get this wrong, right? Teach him sincerity, and his heart shall not reproach him. I believe that's how it goes.
Those are instructions that we got as children.
Yeah. And so in that spirit of that phrase, like I'm just not a person that can lie to myself, right? Like, authenticity is something that I value, and I don't expect anything from other people that I don't first expect from myself. So, in the community, the people that I've been able to surround myself with, there's definitely a level of authenticity. There's a level of self-awareness. You mentioned the idea of self-assessment. They talk about that quite a bit in the Secret to Success podcast, which I often listen to. And so just being in environments or being around, like I mentioned earlier, like-minded people has allowed me to just be more of who I already am. I think sometimes we can shrink ourselves to make other people feel comfortable, or we feel like we have to be somebody that we're not. And being in environments where you can just be yourself and be successful doing that. This year has allowed me to grow my business. And although it's been virtual, right? So first, like I'm not, or I haven't been. I'm not gonna say that I'm not. I haven't been somebody who embraced social media, right? Like using it, and being on it, and all that kind of stuff. To being able to like scale and grow my business. I shared with somebody I think earlier today. I had to get licenses in 5 new states this year because of
Congratulations.
people that were referred to me and things like that. And I didn't necessarily see myself there, which is like I said for my focus next year, focusing on vision, like being able to see myself in the places that I reach. Right, like for me, I'm just like taking the next natural step. Right, I don't really think too much about it. I just keep moving forward, and I don't have what they call paralysis of analysis, where like I got like everything has to be perfect. Kind of back to Maurice's point, done is better than perfect. Like I just do and let the chips fall where they may, or I learned the lesson along the way. But I just keep making measurable progress in reasonable time. Like I gotta be growing. I have to be getting better. And so, in terms of sincerity, I think if you can get to a place where you can just be honest. I think, what is it? Jim Rohn, a business. Well, I call him a business philosopher that I like to listen to. He always said that affirmation without action is the beginning of delusion. Right. So I don't delude myself into thinking that I'm somewhere that I'm not. Maurice kind of spoke on that. Like I see, I look around and they said men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So the numbers tell me a lot of what I need to know in terms of where I am, whether that's financially or, in my life. So I look at the numbers. If I've had growth in my business, right, I should be able to tangibly see that somewhere. And so when you talk about like being even keel, right, I don't delude myself into thinking that I'm somewhere that I'm not. Kind of to Maurice's point, I might be a little harder on myself then, right? Because people around me, right, that was something that I did gain from this year. Or just like I I shared this I think with John earlier this week. I feel like this year I've started to develop raving fans, like literally people who I did not know, who were referred to me or introduced to me through a referral or recommendation by another client, who like just love me, right? Like they want to spend time and they want to refer other people to me, right? And like that's kind of odd to me. Like I didn't anticipate that, and it's kind of exciting. Like not that I'm looking for a fan club, but the fact that like I could have that much impact or influence on a person to where they feel that I've added value to their life, right? Like I may have, other clients in the past may have known that I added value by something that I did, but like for a person's energy to show that they feel that I've added value, and I didn't know them before they reached out to me or they, were connected to me, is pretty rewarding, and it's actually given me a
More
I guess
purpose.
like yeah, absolutely. More belief that I can add more value, that there is more in me to give. So I think too, because of the lane that I'm in terms of finance and things like that, it's important. My integrity is important. Having certain ethical standards, and so I don't take for granted that people trust me with their money, or trust me to help them with a plan or a strategy, and I can't help them be honest with themselves if I'm not being honest with myself, right? Like it doesn't work that way. So I think it's just alignment, being aligned personally and professionally. Like I'm not two different people. Like I don't have the energy to be like pretend to be somebody else, right? It's hard enough just being myself. So like trying to put on a face and pretend that I'm being somebody, I don't have the energy to do it. So I don't know that it's anything that I'm intentional about per se. It's just who I am.
I can actually bear witness to a lot of the things that Margita was just now. Hang on one second, my son was getting up. So a lot of the things that Margita was talking about just now, um, along the lines of being sincere. You know what I'm saying? One of the things one one of the things that I do on my YouTube channel is help people. That's, I'm the helpful trucker on there. And one thing she spoke about was the feeling when a person lets you know that you've helped them. I remember earlier in 2020, that was, I think, the first time that I used the term on my YouTube channel. I remember coming to y'all and saying, "Yo, I got Raven fans on my YouTube channel." I can remember when I said that. You know what I'm saying? But at that point, I don't know how y'all received that. I kind of felt like y'all was looking at me kind of weird at that point, like, okay, what's the big deal? But now, Majida, you kind of saying the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And
It's just a matter of time.
well, you're already there. That's actually one subject that all of us have experienced this year. Connecting with people online that we did not know, that are incredibly appreciative of the impact that we've had on their life. All of us have had that experience with people this year. And it's a great feeling, man. Being aligned, being that I run a YouTube channel, and I'm kind of at a space right now where I'm looking to monetize my YouTube channel further than ads. One thing, whenever I talk to people, one of the first things that they always suggest is, well, just find some affiliate products to promote on your channel. But it kind of goes back to what Margita was saying just now. I'm not about to abuse the fact that people have chosen to trust me and to see me as an authority, because I could easily just go and find an affiliate product to promote on my channel, and it probably would convert. I probably would make money on it. But if it ain't something that I believe in, if it's something that's not, that I don't feel that the sincerity is not there. In other words, I ain't promoting you this product because it helped me and I'm interested in saving you time. I'm promoting this product because I'm interested in monetizing my channel and I think this will convert. So I'm just, it's like that just feels so whack to me. It's so easy to do. I could most certainly do it, but I'm not gonna do it. Why? Because it don't align. And like I said, I'm not about to abuse. I feel privileged that 15,000 people, 12,000 people in 2020 chose to click the subscribe button and say, I believe in what he's talking about, and I see him as an authority in the space. And again, I'm not about to abuse that for nothing. I'm not about to sell out on that. I'm not about to just say, well, I need to create more income in my life so bad that I'm just going to succumb and just say, you know what, let me just start promoting stuff. Because again, it's so easy to do. It's been suggested over and over that I do that. And I'm just like, I can't ever bring the words to it when I'm talking to the person other than I ain't feeling that. I just ain't feeling that. That's just
I like it.
So yeah, I can definitely identify what she's talking about being aligned with what you're doing and what you're promoting and what you're sharing with other people as well. I'll definitely bear witness to that.
And I must say that's something that I definitely appreciate for being around you all, because for me, like, sincerity has been a struggle for me sometimes, because I was I guess growing up, and even from my college days, I was very much like a chameleon. That I would go into environments and I would like adapt and absorb the environment, staying true to myself within that, but also like changing face in order to meet people where they were. And over time, that got really confused. And I was like, all right, who am I? Like, I know that these are the pieces of me that are truest to me in these spaces. What I love about what we do here in Sear is, man, this is all of me. Like, there's no, when I get on this screen with you guys, I know that, oh man, like, they know who I am. They know who I am. And it's the easiest place for me to be my most authentic self. Right? I'm not like putting on a show. I know after this podcast, I'm going to close the computer. I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to talk to my lady. And that's what I've done and talked about every podcast this year, right? Because that's who I am authentically, man. I got a close circle, a small circle of friends, of people that I listen to, that I really work and mastermind with. And for the most part, like, tune out the noise. Like, I make myself open, accessible to people, but like I can't spend time with it, right? it's great. I hear it. It's great information. Like, what are you gonna do with it? And then pass it on to the next phase because I'm moving, right? I'm moving and blazing my own little path and trail and figuring out where this journey is taking me. And as many people as I'm gonna come across, like I realize everybody's not gonna be there along for the journey, right? And so I wanted to bring that up because you brought up being fair with yourself, but also like I appreciate just being able to be sincere. Like some people out there who man, I want to start a business, like, but do you really? Like, do you know the work that it takes to be a business? Or do you know the work that it takes? Like, do you know what your responsibilities are to yourself, your family, your clients, your customers, right? And when I come across people like they have ideas, but they don't have any plan. They don't have any sometimes drive or action, right? And I'm here. I want to position myself. I'm positioning myself to be able to help and guide people, in those early phases, as well as those who seem to be stuck or plateauing, right? Because that's one thing I'm good at. I'm moving you forward. Where are you at? All right, this is how you get to the next step, and keep moving. And if you come back around, you stuck again, you know where to find me. But for the most part, like I'm on the go. I'm on the move. I'm in the spaces that I need to be in order to be able to guide people. But
Yo, can I ask you a question real quick?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you just gonna take the name Mastermind Coach Bay when all of us got the last name Bay? Like, how you just gonna take that name like that? What if I wanted to be Mastermind Coach Bay?
So we have an affiliate program that I'm developing. We'll see. We'll roll that out next year. But somebody's got to be MC. Look, it all starts with an idea, right?
I guess we can go by numbers. We can be Mastermind Coach Bay 1, 2, and 3. I guess. Or A, B, and
I'm
C,
Bay 0. Bay 0.
Okay.
That's the number I want. I want Bay 0. All right. No, but you know what? That's also part of the vision, right? And I realize I'm grateful like that I was brought in with you all. Because I'll be honest. Like I kind of feel like the turtle in the hair race, right? Often I feel like I find myself surrounding myself by people who are examples of the type of success that I want. Matter of fact, I'll show you a little something. Let me make sure I ain't got nothing incriminating up. I'm kidding.
Yo, did you see? Speaking of that, while you pulling it up, did you see that clip of? I think it was CNN or something. They was doing the presidential elections one night. And you know how they do that little board that they pull out, do the projections, and a Pornhub advertisement came up right on top of the joint.
We got to edit that out. That's terrible.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that when you said you don't discriminate.
No, nothing like that. I was just trying to show my desktop. You know what I'm saying? Like
they was going through the elections, and the Pornhub joint popped up right on the top of their board.
I'm gonna ask you not to say that again.
All right, wow, I'm being me. Wait, come on now.
I get it, and I'm being me. So
yeah, I'm being me, bro.
No, that's what's up. So I'm gonna minimize this for a second and just show you, like, this is an envision board that I made for myself, like moving forward in 2020. And one of the things that I realized that I didn't have in my past visions were like, who are the mentors? Who are the people that are along the journey with me, right? It was oftentimes a lot of myself and like what I'm doing in this cocoon. But one of the things that really transformed me recently. Hold up. Stop sharing. All right, we back. One of the things that really stuck with me in the last couple of weeks was that I need to visualize the mentors. And this is something that I've wanted since I was a child, right? It's just some clear people to be like, you know what? I'm gonna let you mentor me, right? I'm listening to you, and I want you to know that I'm listening to you. So help me along the way, right? Because finding the right people to do that had been a challenge for me, right? So I would come across people, and I'm like, I just need somebody to see what's working with me, see the things that I can't see. It can help move me forward, right? That's one of the reasons that I'm doing coaching. I'm going into coaching, right? It's because I realized I've had to develop that skill to find my own blind spots, to find people who can see my blind spots and surround myself with them, right? But being more intentional, being more deliberate with who those people are is one of the big shifts that I've made this year, right? I've listened to a lot of voices like, all right, I like what you did, I like what you did, I like you, but you're really not going in the direction that I want to go in, right? So I can take bits and pieces, but I really can't latch on to where you're going because it's not where I'm going, right? You've got your lane, and I'm ahead in that direction for a little while, but it's not where I'm going. But being around this mastermind group, being around, listening to different podcasts, even just some of the personal relationships that developed over just this year have really helped me to see, all right, these are the people that I know and want and love and care about in my corner, right? These are the people that I want to surround myself and to work to develop with, and also the kind of people I want to be developing along the way. I don't know where was I going with this.
I got to add on to it.
Go ahead with that.
You know, and I think you would agree with this, but also
the tortoise and the hare race. But go ahead, I'll come back to it.
also being open to, like, mentorship can come from weird places sometimes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It really is. You're like in my trucking journey right now, man, and going from driving somebody else's truck to driving my own truck. I mean, I was just thinking today, man, I got some fire mentors around me right now, man, that I could call at the drop of a hat and get some valuable information, man. But one person that I didn't even realize, man, I got a family member that I didn't realize for the longest time. I guess I would have thought there was really not a lot that we had in common. But just realizing and seeing how he handles his affairs and everything lately, I've realized I didn't think he was the type of person that I needed to spend time with and seek information from. But seeing more about his situation, I realized that he is totally the type of person that I need to be soaking in information from. So I mean, just, in the same vein of what you was already saying, having a group of people around you is important. Being able to pick the people that you want around you is important, but sometimes it comes from another angle, and you need to be open. You need to be open to that as well. Mentorship comes from another angle. I'm saying
absolutely. I mean, we encourage getting mentorship, but more specifically, getting coaching. Right, like investing in having someone who can help guide you in the direction that you want to go. And I think that's one of the main differences that I've encountered when it comes to coaching and mentorship. Right, I've had mentors, the people who could, see something, but they always had a different vision of where you were going or where I was going. Right, and I see it all the time. In my last business I was working in, had a lot of mentors. People said, "Man, I could see so much, like a lot of good and great in you," but they didn't really know how to get me moving in the direction that I wanted to do. Like, I want to do personal development. I like learning and understanding, being able to apply the financial principles and do what my Majida does. But I didn't have a love for the work, but I did love meeting and working with people. And I always found myself, man, if you stuck or you struggling with something, people would send them to me, like, or I would find myself in a place or a position to be counseling or guiding or even coaching people past where they feel stuck. I said, man, I need to be invested in personal development. So, I invested in some books. I invested in some programs this year. And, they say if you hang around 5 millionaires, you'll become the next one. You hang around 5 broke people or 4 broke people, you'll become the 5th, right? And one of the things that I really want to encourage for those that, again, who are tuning in, who are listening, who are just getting exposed to who Seer is and what we do, I encourage you to find your community, find your tribe, or come and join ours, right? Because we treat everybody like family, and we have no problem holding you accountable as long as you do your part and show up. Like, that's all you got to do is show up, right? At this point, all we're looking to do is help people who are on the journey, to show people who are on the journey that, there's more to the work than just like, like, oh, I have an idea and next thing you know I'm gonna be a millionaire, or I have an idea and I'm gonna be a trillionaire. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of personal development and growth that goes along in the process. And I want this, or I expect this, and I see this growing to a space where people can see those stages of development, right? People can see in Maurice, where his ideas have gone from trucking and YouTube to being a public speaker and other spaces, and really him honing in on what his voice, that gift that we talked about, being what his voice can really do for people. Majida, and her really finding her lane, recognizing, man, she is an all-around, boss chick, as they say, that she's got raving fans as long as she's willing to put herself out there for the audience of people who are looking for what she does and does well, right? She doesn't just do it. Majida loves doing things and get stuff done, but she doesn't just do it. She does it well. She does it sincerely. She does it with integrity, right? And then people who are looking for a way past where they're stuck, right? I imagine and expect to position myself to be one of those people. I've listened, man. Let me tell you, I've listened. I've had a chance to listen to coaches, a lot of coaches over the last few years. I started modeling myself my program from what Tony Robbins and Eric Thomas did. I saw myself somewhere, coming in the middle of what they're doing, right? Tony Robbins, he's transformative in the work that he's done, right? So I started studying and listening to his programs and coaches, and got exposed to a lot of information. Man, he had like this 5-step program. And I was like, dang, I'm already doing 4 of those, and I haven't had Tony Robbins coaching. Maybe I'm close to, I can get to that level. But it was coming up with, how am I going to do that? Where am I going to do that? And Seer had been a gift. All right, I'm not going to go on too long, but I just want to share this last point. But positioning yourself around people who are going in the direction that you want to go, being open to coaching, more so than just mentoring. I mean, like somebody who can help clean up the flaws, clean up the errors in the ways you're going. They can fix your jump shot, so to speak. You all right, my GD? Still with us? I know it's been a long day, but as we're kind of rounding into the last 90 minutes, what are some positive outlooks, right? Like, I know that everybody, when they turned the page on 2020, it was like the year of perfect vision, right? Everybody had a perfect vision and for their lives, and I can say in my experience, I realized how imperfect that vision had been for myself as well as so many around us, right? That the world that we were living in was not reflective of the world that we wanted, right? And I think this year has been an opportunity for us to really look at the world and feel like, okay, how do we really want to make this thing? So what are some I guess visions that you're casting, for yourself, for your environment, for your family, anything that you want to share? What are some visions that you're casting into the next year or next years?
Well, I see, a vision for my YouTube channel is $25,000 a month, monetizing $25,000 a month, $300,000 a year. A vision for my career is to get my own truck paid for, to secure me a position in the trucking industry, right? So I can put myself in a position where I'm making the most off of my bread and butter. That's gonna be my bread and butter for the next few years. Okay, fine. I think it makes sense to have my own truck to put myself in position to be able to make as much money as I can, as opposed to just working for someone.
That's a Grant Cardone principle.
That's the vision for my trucking career, and just to merge those two. Just to merge those two. A beautiful thing to me would be, over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, to get my equipment paid for, take care of my equipment, take care of my money that I'm gonna make, and at the same time, 10x or maybe even 100x what I'm doing on my YouTube channel at the exact same time. So I can have all of those things firing in the next 3 years. I just passed 5 years. Me and my wife just passed 5 years of marriage. We're looking forward to 5 years plus more marriage. Um, Everything is going good with the children. My daughter right now is staying with her grandparents. Me and my wife is looking for a house, and she's like, my daughter's like, as soon as y'all get a house, she's moving back in with us. So what I'm saying, that's a vision, because I'm looking forward to having Zakara back in the house with us. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
but yeah, those are that's what I plan on happening. Generally speaking, next year in 2021. There's a few
Awesome.
things that I plan on happening in
And
2021.
I don't know. I sensed a little bit more certainty in the family vision than the 100x vision. I want to hear a little more certainty in the 100x, but I guess that comes with building out the platform.
Yeah,
One
absolutely
question.
does.
One question that I think that can help go in that direction is, what do you envision for your subscribers, for your followers, for those who are building that channel for you and with you?
And be a little bit more specific.
I mean, so you'll be doing your piece as far as providing the content, but I know one thing that's always been important for you is being intentional, being deliberate about being helpful. And so for those that you're helping, is there any way that you can quantify or qualify or measure the impact of what you doing your part would provide for those who make your channel and grow it into that 25K plus community?
I don't think I have that. I don't think I have that degree of clarity that you're asking for as of yet. I don't think I have that yet.
I think that would take it to the next level.
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
I have
And I
that
understand
yet.
you doing that for you, but again, just when you see yourself at 10 to 25, like, I know Majida would be like, focus on the 20, like, just focus in on the 25. Like, I get that. But recognize, like, when you hit that, right? It's an expectation. It's something that you're doing the work and you fully expect it to do, when you're seeing it being done around you. What would you provide or offer that community, right?
Well, yeah, I guess
That would take
that's
it.
what I'm zeroing in on right now.
Got it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I got it. Margita,
Yeah.
for you, what is the vision that you're casting? And I mean, like, I know you're very good at being very practical and very tangible. What's the vision that you're casting for yourself and the community that you're building over on Momentum Mentors and Ronnie Bay Enterprises?
So my, I guess what I got from this year was that I'm here. This is my belief about my purpose. I'm here to help families create estates. Period. Point blank. Like that's what I'm supposed to do. And I not only believe that it's possible, like I know that it is. Right. Just with some very foundational things. As you mentioned, right? Like I'm not a complex person. I say all the time when I'm having conversations with people, like, don't let the engineering degree fool you, right? Like I'm a very simple-minded person, and I believe that when families are able to create those estates, the idea of generational wealth, the idea of leaving a legacy is no longer an idea. Like it's tangible, right? It's something they can hold in their hand.
Wow.
Like, your family has an estate now because you were able to do some things differently, right? Like I'm all about practicality, about taking action, right? These are some things that you can do to like legitimately leave a legacy and leave an estate for your family. And so that's my vision. How many families? As many as I'm allowed to assist before it's my time to go. But I believe that's what I'm here to do, right? Like, and if I do that, then I'll be allowed to travel the world I'll be allowed to leave a legacy and create generational wealth for my own family, right? Like, I think through my example, I'm gonna show people how to do it. But it says that you earn in direct proportion to the service you provide. So the more people I'm able to serve, the more I'll be able to earn. And I just want to earn so that I can give more money away and travel the world. Like, that's the only two things I want to do: give and travel, right? And that to me would be a fulfilling life. But I am embracing the idea of like having someone to share it with. I had that idea some time ago, and then I got my daughter. So to clarify that vision a little bit, yeah, I'm gonna clarify that vision because I've gotten some more exposure to like vision boards and what I need to include on that. And I realized like a man was like never in the vision, right? I don't know how, but that'd be another conversation for another day. But yeah, I think that perhaps that could be part of the vision for the future. But I'm going to focus on my work and my purpose, and
let God do the rest, right? As he,
yeah. I'm not going.
Be careful about that one. Be careful about that one. Me and my brother was talking about that one today. Be careful about that one. We was talking about how people, when it's like, I'll leave that up to God. That's in God's hands. It's like, well, if you had the ability to take care of it yourself, you probably wouldn't leave it in God's hands. You would just do it yourself. You know what I mean?
I'm saying just the parts that, just the parts that that are out of your control, right?
Well, I think that's the whole point right there, realizing that our life is in our control. Our life is in our control. I think that's the big thing right there. You know what I mean? Like whether I pay my.
I agree. I'm just saying, like, because and I'm gonna try to be real quick with this.
Of course.
In reflecting, right? Because I spend a lot of time in my own mind. In reflecting, I remember in like middle school, probably high school, around that time, right? Saying to myself that I just wanted to be the girl that was friends with guys. Right? Like I didn't want to be nobody's girlfriend. I just want to be the girl. Like I could be close enough to where I could like the guy, but they don't have to know that I like them. But I can just be their friend. And like I've been that girl like my whole life, right? I've become that, and that's the only vision, if you will, that I've had of a romantic relationship. And so like there's no really surprise to me that like I'm not in a committed, right? Like that's just in reflecting and thinking back, like how is it that I am who I am and like I am where I am. So I never had a vision beyond that. I wanted to be like loving basketball. Like I just want to marry my best friend, or marry the guy that like I play basketball with, right? Like that was like my vision of like the ideal relationship. But yeah,
that movie actually didn't turn out all that great for them. But yeah, but for most of it, it wasn't.
I never had a crush on none of the girls I played basketball with.
but see, that was the thing, right? Like I knew I was the girl who was like she's just a homie, right? Like she wasn't. But I was cool with that because I could be close and have a crush, and they never know because I was just a homie girl, right? So anyway.
Yeah, we're overdue for the relationship podcast. We talked about it a few times. I'm really looking forward to opening up. As a matter of fact, that's actually one of the things I promised in my relationship is to open up, to be more open.
And I've seen so many entrepreneurs online recently talking about they need a relationship. Successful entrepreneurs is like, I need a relationship. I've seen so much of that lately. I've seen a lot of that.
I think I'm gonna have to switch to marriage coach.
Desire. I don't know about need. Like I need to breathe, right? Like
I see Maya doing that.
You know what's interesting about that though? Because it was around this time last year, and I think you were with me, Majida. We were talking to one of our brothers in It was Randy.
Who?
Talking to Randy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. And we had a conversation, and I recognized like last year that the focal point, one of the focal points, and this has been something for me like since I was a little boy. I realized me having a close relationship, a close partner, would be integral to me fulfilling my destiny, right? And I felt that way because I realized, all right, I'm gonna experience life as a male, but for me to have like a full experience and knowledge and understanding of what God, is putting me as a human being, as a human spirit, like I need to know the other side of that, right? And I need to know it intimately and closely as if it's as if it's my own experience. And to me, I could only see doing that, right? Well, not only, but I primarily saw doing that in a close, committed, intimate relationship. So like that's been something that's been on my list since I was about 6-7 years old. I came into that awareness, and since then, it's been a driving force, right, in a lot of my successes. And I recognize in times where I haven't pursued, that proper balance for me, because that's really what it's done for me. It's been that balance, right? I've had moments where I've been in a nice cocoon where I've been able to clarify and focus on self. But oftentimes I also find myself, oh man, I don't want to get into we're getting into a different podcast, but we definitely want to have it. We actually coming back on New Year's. We might have to kick the year off with a what's your mastermind love language? What's your love language, right?
It might be too deep for the first show for New Year's.
too deep for the New Year?
Who are you going into the New Year with, right?
Yeah. Right. Keep in mind, you maybe that's just my perspective because I'm married, so I know who I'm going to the New Year with. Okay.
And here's the thing.
I know who I'm going to the New Year.
Here's the thing. I think there's a beautiful story in that, and I love to unpack that story. There's a beautiful story because you've known us all of our lives, right? Mm-hmm. And being married to our sister, you probably never imagined who you knew then being your wife and mother, in that way. So, like, I think there's a lot that can be unpacked there. Mm-hmm. But I think, Margita, you brought up a great point about it being in your vision, right? And for me, when a friend pointed out, man, like, you're the power, but you need somebody to be your strength. And I was like, And as soon as I decided, I put it in my vision board that night, and I met my partner, or like I awakened to my partner that same day. That same day, it was crazy. And because of that, we'll be celebrating next week our 1 year anniversary. So I want to put that out there. Shout out to you, man. Love you. We made it 1 year.
Yay.
Which means you got me until you get rid of me. Until God called me.
Wow.
I got rules. Wow. 1 year, it's either keep it or quit it.
Wow.
Keep it or quit it. Don't waste people's time, but definitely give them your best. It's been a phenomenal year for me. You've been this, and so just shout out to her. Looking forward to meeting up in Las Vegas next week because us teachers, we are on winter break, so excited for that. What's that?
We teachers.
What did I say?
Us teachers.
Yes, but you know what? we all make grammatical errors, Us teachers, us, because I'm talking to the teachers, the teachers that are listening, the teachers that I'm coaching. The teachers that I'm in the room with, all right, us teachers are on winter break, but it's not a break for for your growth plan, right? You shouldn't take a break from your growth plan. So I really appreciate you sharing that tonight. Man, it's been nice hanging out with y'all tonight, man. Mm-hmm. Starting to get all the feels all over again, man, and looking forward to putting another 20. What are you on 18? Putting another 20. 21 episodes together. I know it's technically 26, but we'll let that unfold as it does.
And I got a vision for this podcast for 2021 too.
We're going to YouTube.
We need to.
No, we're doing it. Like there's no
All
need
right.
to. We're going to YouTube. So for those that are watching on Facebook, look to find us on YouTube in 2021. So we can reach out and expand and interact and engage with you guys a lot more, as well as other podcast platforms. It's coming. It's coming. This is where I feel like I'm the tortoise in the hare race. Like I see people running all around me, and I'm just like, one step at a time, right? To be able to manage the bits and pieces, but
Yeah,
don't be
but make
so
sure,
slow that you lose your moment.
and in closing, I don't know if you're about to close out or not. Be fair with yourself. Be fair in judging yourself. Just piggybacking on what you said just now. That is so dangerous. Not saying that you are doing this, but that is so dangerous. Looking around at what you think other people are doing, because
Yeah,
everything that glitters ain't gold. We live in an internet world, and we live in a world where people take 100 pictures just to post the perfect one. In other words, people go out of their way to only post what's pretty. They ain't posting what's ugly. And so when you looking at what you think they doing, it ain't, in my opinion, and generally speaking, it's not accurate. It's not fair. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of things going on that behind the scenes that you may not know about. You know what I'm saying? So, and because of that, we all got to be real careful about comparing ourselves to what we think and believe other people are doing, because half of those people, it's not what you think it is. I know that to be a fact. So again, it
absolutely,
goes back to being fair in judging yourself in running your race, and not necessarily comparing yourself to others, but comparing yourself to you.
absolutely. And as somebody who took those lessons from track and run the distance, man, I realized, man, I'm the only one I'm racing against, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in that race with yourself, then you're in your lane, right? When you realize that you're racing against your clock and not nobody else's. All right. So now I appreciate you sharing that. And we this is the behind the scenes look to the Sear Mastermind, to the helpful trucker, to your financial conductor, and to Mastermind Coach. I'm claiming it. Mastermind Coach Zero of the Sear Mastermind Group. This has been your Sear Mastermind podcast, your support and accountability hub for creative entrepreneurs and all our community and supporters. So we appreciate you all. Majida, appreciate you. I think you really held your own this year. So, we got to bring back the drop the mic moments coming up, because there's been a lot of mic drops this year. I got to go back and dive into the videos. Maurice, thank you so much for your investment, right? Thank you so much for your innovation, for the idea of bringing us together. Something I'm working through right now, and what I foresee, what I envision for not just our podcast, but for Sear, is really growing a community of entrepreneurs and coaches who are helping and guiding people in those lanes, right? Like we realize in our masters that a lot of people have some overlaps, right, in the things that they want to do. The people who want to do real estate, the people who want to work in finance, the people who want to have their own, social media channel, from YouTube to TikTok to Instagram and all of those different spaces. There are people who, on their trading journey and investing and want to. I mean, there's so many different things that people are invested in, and putting our community together, right, has given us opportunities to cross pollinate our experience, right? I think we all had the experience recently where we got to hear somebody from like 10 or 20 years ago, right? Hear somebody who's on that part of the journey. It's just like, man, I have all these ideas, but not focused on where they want to go, right? And able to say, oh man, you know what? I'm grateful for where I'm at today, and you know what? I have an opportunity to be able to help somebody else there along the way. So, for the generation that's coming behind us, we're here for you, right? This is the behind the scenes look of what it looks like to build. Right? We want to show you this every couple of weeks so that you can see, you know what? I remember looking at, those book bags and those coats hanging up in the back of my Jita's living room, for 35 episodes. Oh man, and then next thing I know, she's got the nice, this or that. And Maurice, I remember looking at those blinds behind you. And then, next thing you know, he shows up in a new house, right? I want people to see that.
You can't tell if I'm in a new house right now. Nah.
No, I can't.
Like it.
Yeah. That's how you like it. I love it though. Any feedback? Any last thoughts before 2021? That'll be the next time we're together on the podcast.
Nah, I gave my last thoughts, man.
Final thoughts, Jeter. My Jeter.
No.
Hey, get on the wealth train.
Get in align with our topic, year end or year in. Don't go into 2021 with the same mindset, the same thinking, the same. I'm not gonna say habits because maybe you have great habits, but don't let 2021 be another 2020, right? Because you didn't change. So for things to change, you have to change, right? If nothing changes, nothing changes. So always be looking to grow yourself, improve yourself, better yourself, and find associations that will allow you to do that. Those associations are going to make a huge difference in who you become. And so surround yourself with the people who are where you're going, who have a common future, not just a common past. So, see y'all in 2021.
Bars. All right, we're gonna take those into 2021, and I'm simply just gonna add, for at any point in your life, right? No matter where you are, whether it's 2020, 2025, 2050. All right, I encourage you, if you haven't already, invest in a coach and invest in a written plan for yourself. Right? Nothing can be better for you than having a written plan for where you're going. Right? It's like putting in your GPS your destination, and letting the universe do the rest to help you guide you to that destination. Right? There's gonna be some some roadblocks and some pit stops and some gas fill ups and some bathroom breaks. There's gonna be all kinds of things along the journey, but like get your destination set, and I promise you, you will get closer to where you want to go a lot faster by getting clear. It's your MC, Seer Mastermind Group, Maurice Bay, the helpful trucker. Thank you, Majida Bay, your financial conductor on the wealth train. Get on the train, right? Get your estate in place. And this is Bakar Bay, your master coach. We'll see y'all in 2021.